SwayamPrabha. Digital India. Educated India.
Namaste, hello everyone. Welcome to my NPTEL course on interior design. We are discussing a few materials and today we will be talking about the material tiles and this is our lecture number 18. And this is the contents for today's discussion. So there is tile treatment, different kinds or types of tiles, what is their finish and performance, and some rules for working with tiles, the tile installation and references. So let's see the tile treatment and first just to begin with what a tile is a manufactured piece of hard wearing material. It could be ceramic, stone, metal, it could be even glass. And tiles are very important in the field of interior architecture. And they could be used for covering roofs, floors, walls, showers. They could also be used for countertops or tabletops. And we can also have tiles made out of perlite, wood, mineral wool. These are like sort of alternate lightweight materials and they could be used for wall and ceiling applications. And today's lecture will focus on varieties available, their applications and some points or terms to keep in mind while we are working with tiles. So tiles are available in varying sizes and shapes. They could be like small or they could be large and they could be rectangular, hexagonal, square and they could also be a mix and match of different shapes. We could also create a sort of a tile mosaic and different kinds of patterns by permutation and combination of these different kinds of tiles, small or large, and the varying shapes that we see on the screen. They could also be custom made. So basic tile sizes which are like sort of standard and that could be found within the standard industry practices are 4 inches by 4 inches, 8 inches by 8 inches, they could be 12 inches by 12 inches, 18 by 18 or 24 by 24, and like I said they could be customized. Eco-friendly tiles which are made up of 70% of the recycled content, they are highly in demand. So we could also talk about recyclability, circularity, and then custom design tiles based on that. Now tiles could be single fired or double fired. They could be glazed or unglazed depending on where we are using them, what is the taste of our clientele, what is the kind of the project. We could select from these available options. Now the double fired tiles, they are fired in the kiln twice and they are generally harder than the single fired tiles. And when we talk about the glazed tiles, they are often of the double fired sort, but they are more slippery, which compared to the unglazed tiles, they are more slippery and they are not recommended for wet areas such as bathrooms. Now when we talk about the types of tiles, there is a lot of variety, but talking about the major ones that one could find in the market and which are sort of popular, we could start by understanding the ceramic tiles. Now they have closed surfaces which are fired at very high temperatures and substances like mites and dust, they can hardly settle or develop on such surfaces. With appropriate ventilation, ceramic coverings prevent formation of mold in rooms with high humidity such as bathrooms, kitchens and toilets. Ceramic tiles are odorless. They neither absorb nor store odors, vapors or smoke, and they are particularly suitable for underfloor heating due to their ability to store and conduct heat. And the even heat distribution saves heating costs, and owing to a low air circulation, less dust rises when we work with the ceramic tiles. As a result, the air in the room is less polluted by circulating dust And these tiles are also known for their durability, resistance to dampness, affordability, ease of cleaning, which is, very, very important while working with tiles. They are also safe to walk, on these tiles when they are slightly wet. So that's why also they are in demand. And they require the application of sealant, typically every 4 years or so. Also, continuing with ceramic tiles, it is important to understand that the term ceramic tile is often used as a generic name for all types of tiles. But the composition of a true ceramic tile, which is technically approved, it's very different from the other types of the tiles. These are some of the images of, ceramic tiles. Now, there is also natural stone, which is used for tiling. And natural stones such as quarried slate, limestone, flagstone, granite, marble, they can be cut into tiles, and they can be used for tiling purposes, and they are also used for countertop materials. Marble is quite well known for its beauty, but it is expensive. It requires lots of maintenance, and it can crack, stain or mark easily. So it depends what is the kind of project and what is the choice that the client has and what is the purpose for which we are selecting a certain material. But yes, natural stone tiles look quite timeless and aesthetic. Slate is noted for its beauty and long life. It is very soft, so it can split. Now, granite is quite durable, it is dense, it is strong, but is mainly formed into basic tiles, so we have very few basic patterns and options for which granite is used. Natural stone is also one of the most expensive types of tiles, and some of them actually require a lot of care and sealant due to natural permeability. So these aspects have to be understood, and it comes over a period of time with experience and while working on ground, doing some, research studies on all of these types of tiles. So continuing with the natural stone, in the past, most of the times the quarry tiles, were used, which came directly from the quarries. But now the manufacturers are using the extrusion method. And that method is used for making a vitreous clay tile, which is almost as hard as natural stone. So that option is also being practiced. Quarry tile has a rough surface, which means that it is perfect for flooring because it provides a very good grip. So that is why it was used in the past and it is still sort of sought after, but because of a lot of environmental concerns and due to other reasons of ease of manufacturing and laying, it's also in practice that the extrusion method is being used. So it also means that quarry tile is not good for kitchen countertops as it is very, very porous. So one has to select and see where the application has to happen. Even though a quarry tile can be sealed to make it less porous, it is still not appropriate for food preparation surfaces. So at least for the kitchen, design and for the kitchen food preparation area, granite has become like a big winner and it's quite recommended. It should be noted though that the granite looks great, but it does have its own problems. It cracks easily. Also, like quarry tile is porous and so must be sealed and polished on a regular basis. Granite is also like that. And granite and marble are easily scratched and are not always resistant to high temperatures. So it is risky to keep, hot kitchen pots and utensils on them. Now talking about the cement tiles, they are created by pouring cement into molds and then finished by firing or natural drying. And the color may be added to give it a different kind of appearance. A strong sealant must be applied for cement tile to resist stains, and this type of tile is not very common or popular. Some of the images, it could be like a plain cement tile, it could be a pattern, or it could be a different kind of color. It could be different kinds of designs within this cement tile family. Then there is terrazzo tiles. In terrazzo tiles, a cement or epoxy base is used and stone or marble chips are embedded like we see over here. The surface is then highly polished. Terrazzo tiles are known for their unique beauty, style and performance, and they are also sort of known for their permanence. They are expensive, but for all the reasons that is stated in terms of aesthetic and unique appearance, they are still, in demand. Then there are, Celtilo tiles or the Mexican tiles. They are generally handmade and air dried, and they are softer and less durable, but they provide such a unique look that, sometimes there is a demand for these kinds of tiles. And when they are used in indoors, these tiles must be sealed. Some of the tiles are already sealed, when they come from the manufacturers, but for the others, some care has to be taken care of. There is also terracotta tile, which is like the earth material category. And terracotta tiles are absorbent. They are most often used in patios. They must also be sealed for indoor use. Then there is a category of agglomerate tiles. So these tiles are created by mixing, the graded marble or granite chips with Portland cement, polyester resin or epoxy. And then by mixing all of these sort of agglomerates, this sort of a composition is achieved, which can be used, for the flooring and walling. Then there is glass mosaic tile. The glass mosaics are becoming quite popular these days, and it's very common to find them in shades of blue, green, brown, or they could also be some custom made color pigments. They are also available in clear, translucent appearances, and they provide a very unique look if not natural. So they are still in demand. These tiles are usually 3/4 of an inch by 3/4 of an inch, and they come in sheets roughly 12 inches by 12 inches for application, and this could be an expensive look to achieve. So it's not a very very common or a very sort of frequently used style. But yes, when there is a specific taste or when there is a specific demand, the glass mosaic tiles are used in projects. So the ninth category is non-vitreous tiles, and these absorb 7% or more of their weight because they are porous and they are suitable for dry indoor areas. Then there is a semi-vitreous tile which absorbs 3% to 7% of its weight, and it's also suitable for dry indoor areas. When we talk about the vitreous tiles, they absorb 0.5% to 3% of their weight, and they are suitable in both dry and wet indoor areas depending on the percentage that they absorb. There are also impervious tiles. They absorb between 0 and 0.5% of their weight, and they are suitable for both indoor and outdoor use, again depending where they are getting applied and what is the percentage of absorption by their weight. So when it comes to a variety, the following kinds of tiles stand out, and they are mostly used for flooring. So there is encastic tiles. They are available in both glazed and unglazed appearances, and some of them are like very beautiful because they are inlaid with beautiful designs and patterns and colors. Then there are marble tiles. They are very attractive. They are very commonly used in household areas and other typology of projects. Now the problem is that the polished marble, it can be very slippery, and therefore it is not recommended for high traffic areas. Then there are ceramic tiles. They are made by firing clay, talc and other materials at very high temperatures inside a kiln. And they also come in both glazed and unglazed varieties, and they can be made with recycled materials also, for example glass bottles. So they are also quite in use. Then we have porcelain tiles. Now porcelain is also a type of a ceramic, and the porcelain tiles are made by firing clay and other materials again at very high temperatures. And the resultant is a tile which is very dense and most importantly moisture resistant. Now porcelain tiles are ideal for bathrooms and kitchens, and therefore they are quite sought after for areas where there is a lot of water. Then there are glass tiles. They come in wide array of colors, shapes and sizes, and we can sort of mix and match and create patterns out of it. And they can be textured to increase their slip resistance. That's very interesting. Now what could be the considerations when we are flooring tiles or when we are putting tiles on a floor? These could be like some very important considerations, and we must try to understand these terms or terminologies while trying to understand the laying of tiles. So there is abrasion resistance. Basically, a floor surface's ability to resist scratching and scuffing upon contact with abrasive materials. It's very important to understand this. Then what are balanced cuts? So floor tiles that are cut to fit a certain area when a complete tile cannot, be put there. So we have to balance those cuts and try to put the tiles in a way that, that kind of a balance can be achieved. Then there are conductive tiles. So the tiles that have the ability to conduct electricity. So they have to be handled with care, and we have to understand what kinds of tiles are those. Then what is an epoxy adhesive? Now this adhesive is used to bond floor tiles directly to the subfloor, and they often contain a hardener and epoxy resin. So these are all like technical terms and like important terms when we go and discuss with the vendors or we look at tiles in the market. It's always important to also understand, the specifications, the technical aspects, these terminologies, and discuss these, and check with our requirements what kind of tiles finally we want to go for. Then there is flush, which is a term used to describe tiles that are completely level with one another. So there is an even surface which is created by putting them flush. Then there is monocultura, which is a type of a tile that is fired in temperatures up to 2000 degrees Fahrenheit or even hotter. And then there is grout, which is very, very important to understand while we are talking about tiles. So it is a mixture of cementitious materials, which could be a mortar, sand, and combined with water used to fill in the spaces between each tiles. And this comes in a variety of colors. Then there is mosaic, a tile design or pattern consisting of several small pieces of tiles. Then what is non-vitreous? A term that refers to tiles with a moisture absorption rate of 7% or higher. It is porous. We talked a bit about it, in terms of classification of tiles and the percentage of absorption just a few slides ago. And these are different kinds of edges and details when we put the tiles on the floor. Now polished finish. Tiles that have a polished finish are usually glossy in appearance and have the ability to reflect light very well. Then what is the difference between terrazzo and mosaic? Because in the world of tiles you will hear this quite often and it may be confusing and we may mistake one for another. So basically the terrazzo comprises of a solid floor. It is a Portland cement mixed with marble chips and it is poured like concrete. While mosaic is a type of tile pattern where different shapes of tiles, either broken pieces or, cut pieces, they are laid and then a pattern is formed. So that is a mosaic. Now talking about the finish and performance when, we are doing tiling. So when tile floors are installed and cared for properly, they can really last for a lifetime. And unglazed tiles typically show less wear and tear than the glazed ones. And they perform better, the unglazed ones, in high traffic areas, for example, the living room. So the unglazed ones typically show less wear and tear. And tile floors are versatile and they can be installed on, above and below any grade. Then some tile types are moisture, heat and frost resistant, and then they can be installed outdoors. Also, in pool areas because they are resistant to moisture, heat and frost. The floor tiles that are glazed, they can be very slippery and are not generally recommended for moisture susceptible areas. Ceramic tiles can be textured and tend to perform well in high traffic rooms such as kitchens, living rooms and entranceways. Also, ceramic tile floors are not suitable for, waxing or refinishing. So these are sort of some thumb rules and important aspects to keep in mind. Working with tiles definitely needs extra care and it also needs expertise to understand, the typology of tile and various methods of application and important things such as what is tile lining, then using sealants, choosing the type and color of grout, what is, cleaning and sealing of grout, removing the grout haze, polishing and honing the tile. Knowledge regarding alkaline and acidic tile cleaners, restoration and refinishing of tiles, what is regrouting, what is anti-slip tile treatment. So all of these are very, very important, and these are in depth, and they need on ground exposure and also some kind of experience to embrace this learning. Now again, as a thumb rule, one should buy 15% more tiles than required to fill the space, keeping in mind there may be some damage, some kind of a wrong cut, some kind of tiles being broken, etc. So it's always good to have this sort of a thumb rule in place. These are some of the images, and again, while we are laying tiles on the floor, there may be some faucet openings. We may need to cut the tiles because there may not be enough space for putting the full tile, and there may be some kind of servicing or plumbing or something. And then, how do we align them? What kind of spacing do we leave between them? And then how do we fill the grout between them? Is it of the same color as the tiles, or it could be different colors? And then how we use this squeezy to flush these and put them in a proper way. So what is the kind of pattern we want to achieve? From which point do we start it? Do we start it from here and make an arrow that the tile is being put here and then taken this manner and in this manner? So there is a proper working drawing which is made to explain how the tile is being laid, and then how that drawing can be used most effectively on site. That's very important. So it has to be, made in that manner. Also, again, these kinds of details: what is the center line, what is the level till which the tiling is done, where the adhesive is required, where is the plumb line, so that the tiles are not misaligned, and so on. There are some tools which are needed for laying tiles. So there is an adhesive or mastic that is required. It should be of right kind, and depending on whether the tiles are being laid in a kitchen or a pool room, it has to be decided what kind of adhesive is required. Then there is this notched trowel, and this is like a very basic but important tool. Then there is a tile saw or a tile scorer. So these are some of the most crucial tools which are required while working with tiles. There is also this diamond hole saw, to cut out radiator pipes and other holes. And then there is grout, the filler that goes in the spaces between tiles that we just saw. There is also something known as the rubber float, a rubber foam rectangle with metal backing and wooden handle, which is required to work while laying the tiles. Then measuring tape, of course, or it could be a digital laser measuring tape that we use these days. Of course, the level, the chalk line, the tile spacers, silicone sealant, all of these are like very, very basic but crucial tools which are required on site while working with tiles. Grouting, we have been talking a bit about it, but some more details about it. It's a very, very important and critical process. The color of the grout could blend with the color of the tile, or it could be completely distinct. So it is also a part of the design and the call of the designer. Finding an exact match can be sometimes tough, if you want to match the grout with the tile, because it also depends on the environment in which the installation is taking place. It should be kept in mind that, the darker grout tends to be easier to maintain. Also, sometimes it becomes a design vocabulary to, have this contrast between light and dark. Now, most of the manufacturers do not recommend walking on the, sorry, I'll have to repeat this. Most manufacturers do not recommend walking on tile floors until the adhesive and grout have properly dried. So it's important that they are dried first. And the drying time will differ depending on the product. So it is very important to read the instructions. And then nippers or a rail saw that should be used to make curved cuts. So it's not always, the linear faces or just the straight cuts. It could be sometimes the curved cuts. So there are tools for that also. If the grout joints are smaller than 1/8 of inch, then non-sanded grout, could be used. And rough cut edges can be softened with the smoothing stone. And if the grout joints are larger than 1/8 of the inch, then the sanded grout should be used. Also, a wet or dry tile saw should be used for diagonal and straight cuts. So again, some of the important aspects to be understood, some thumb rules to be remembered, and some of the tools that are used on site, just to have an inventory of that. All of that is what we are trying to understand here. Now, what are some rules, for working with tiles? So, bathroom tiles should be smaller, as a thumb rule, since larger tiles are difficult to fit around the many obstacles that one could find within a bathroom space. Then the tile countertops are inexpensive, but the grout lines, they may be difficult to keep clean. So if we are using tiles for countertops, then there is this issue of maintaining the grouting. The neutral background and installing a few splashes of color is quite advisable rather than using too many colors all at once. Now, like I was telling a few slides ago, grout can very much become a part of your design vocabulary. Color of the grout can be changed. I often prefer that actually. Spacing of the tiles could also be made, wider or leaner or narrower to emphasize or de-emphasize the grout. That can also be a part of the design. The type and size of tiles is as important as the grid pattern, which is created by putting them together. So by using smaller tiles, the grid pattern is further emphasized. So it could be, a choice of the designer to use smaller tiles and have an emphasized pattern. The grout sealer needs to be applied to the seams after the tile is installed. It must be applied periodically to keep the seams waterproof. So these are all important points. Now typically when we talk about tiles, tiling, what are the laying methods that are a part of this important process? So tiles are only the upper part of a multi-layer system that includes a substrate, bonding and grouting material, expansion joints, etc. So it's like a system in place. So for this reason, the installation is as much important as the tiles themselves. So the laying methods are very, very important, and the technicalities need to be really understood well. So, there are these chromatic choices and the installation plans for a floor or wall. So as I was saying, the laying methods are very important. Factors including the size of the space, such as, the height, natural or artificial lighting, as well as laying patterns and what is the style that is to be achieved. These all become very, very important. Spaces of identical dimensions may seem different depending on how they are tiled. Now that's actually a very important factor or a very important aspect of design that a designer can bring in and create spaces. So how the tiles are done and how it creates a certain kind of a perception of space that an interior designer can contribute to by designing in such a manner or putting tiles in such a manner. For example, the black and dark colors reduce a space as they absorb light. White and light colors diffuse light and therefore they enlarge a space. So these are also like all psychological aspects within space making. Vertical lines or vertical tiling, they make a space look higher, while horizontal lines will make it look wider. Now the square patterns make a space look higher and wider. So these are all sort of, tools in the kitty of interior designer who understands the science and technique behind creating perception in spaces by using these kinds of different methods of laying tiles or what kinds of tile patterns to achieve, etc. For good laying design, it is necessary to analyze the characteristics of the surface to be tiled, and these are critical for establishing the correct design solution and the appropriate laying method, because what surface is to be tiled, to analyze that is very, very important. Now this analysis in fact influences and determines the correct project solution. An examination of surfaces makes it possible to establish whether cleaning treatments are necessary and selection of the most suitable adhesive. Also, it is very important to study the behavior of the material of the tile and the expansion caused by changes in temperature, and it may lead to stresses, the expansion of certain layers. Expansion which are caused by the changes in temperature may lead to stresses due to expansion of certain layers. So these are all scientific and technical aspects, and to understand this behavior is also important. So whenever we say, an interior architect or interior designer versus interior decorator, uh, it is also sort of this difference in understanding this kind of science behind selecting a particular material or a particular choice of, tiling, because this kind of a research and this kind of important knowledge is imparted during the courses or during the practice of, interior design and interior architecture. So, of course, there may be decorators who are well versed and who take interest in knowing about these things, but at least as a institutionalized way of pedagogy and practice, and the way, these degree courses operate, this science and this technology and all these aspects are also put together for us to learn. Then there is this modulus of elasticity and sizing, again, some kind of technical aspects. It is very important to understand these because they determine the behavior of the structure under real load conditions. Then the composition and structural arrangement also, right, which indicates the location and dimension of construction joints. So we need to understand those because, they allow for some movement between close parts in the structure. The overall geometry of the surface to be tiled, which may affect the choice of tiles, the layout, what is the pattern or the design that we want to achieve, and what is the tile laying technique. So the geometry again is very, very important. Some images over here. Now the tile installation designs. So, there can be different kinds of installations, the parallel installation, diagonal, there is something known as herringbone pattern. We can do these kinds of installations. Inconsistent joints can be substantially reduced by using, rectified tiles, which require the additional process of cutting and grinding after kiln firing. So, of course, there is a method of installation, and also there is a method of rectifying inconsistent joints, and everything put together can produce beautiful patterns. So there is a straightforward layout where, there are more rectangular shapes, and typically a 3 mm joint is necessary for this kind of a layout. This requires special attention in combining and leveling the single pieces so as to reduce the differences in flatness that may be present. Then there is a diagonal installation which may have some inset tiles, put diagonally, and then some inset or in between tiles. These are mostly the rectangular shapes and the straightforward layouts that you are seeing. And this one is the herringbone pattern that we were talking about. Very beautiful and quite sought after in the tile industry. Good dimensional tiles, they will always aid better consistency in joints. And then of course the proper sealing that can give critical reaction time to save surfaces from staining and damage. The final hardness of the tile is directly related to the mineral content, the temperature reached within the kiln where they are fired, and the duration of time the tiles are fired. So these are all very important aspects, and manufacturers have to keep this in mind. There is something known as measurement of hardness, which is MOH, and these are all technical specifications that you will get to see if you take interest and when you do market survey and try to know more about tiles. So, tiles with low MOH, which is the measurement of hardness rating, are not suitable for heavy traffic areas. So, this has to be kept in mind. There are also various kinds of tests, which are available for tiles, such as tests to do slip resistance or water absorption or breaking strength, impact resistance, abrasive hardness, chemical resistance, etc. And it may be important to, have a sort of an overview understanding of these kinds of tests, and they are valuable when choosing tiles for specific applications. It is also advisable to select samples from different production batches for laboratory tests to ensure the consistency. And the selection of compatible adhesives and grouting, the correct method of installation and maintenance, they are all important factors to ensure the best or the optimal performance. This is like, a typical sort of a sheet from a tile company, and this basically sort of lays details such as what is the name of the tile. For example, this standard floor tile that we see over here, what is its size in inches, which is 9 by 9, number of tiles required per square feet for a job that is being anticipated, 1.8 numbers. So basically there is some kind of cutting which is required. What is the usage? It is usage, the usage is meant for both interior and exterior purposes. Some additional comments are being given over here. So like waxing or polishing to be done to get the desired result, square in one production, other shapes against order, etc., etc. And then there is also material cost per square feet. So this category over here that we are studying or discussing particularly, this is less than rupees 50 per square feet. And then there is production against order, which is ticked, and rest is not applicable. So again, this is like, for one assignment or a project, this kind of a scheduler inventory is made, and this really helps, execution on site, procuring material, and trying to also do some kind of a cost estimate, also some, BOQ, how much is the quantity of tiles that would be required. So these kinds of inventories are always important on site. So I would like to end like I do every time with a nice quote. Everything is designed, few things are designed well. Thank you. I will be seeing you next time, discussing another material, which is paints. And there are some references. One of the articles actually written by me for Insight, and some more references over here that could help you with images and illustrations. Thank you again. I'll see you.